So I am a reserve U.S. Navy officer, while I'm also a federal civilian as well with Department of Navy. I see the Navy in two different lenses. People don't tend to realize that, we as combat warriors, we have to fight just as much as you have to drive your car, right? Why should a Tesla be the only one that has autonomy and can kind of drive itself? Why not our ships and our surface platforms? Why can't they do the same thing? So a chief data officer for me, I am looking at and trying to find insights and correlations to either how we fight and the outcome, which is ultimately success, or how we are defending, which is ultimately how we bring, in my case, sailors home. So I'm looking at our service platforms. How are they performing through various salinity levels of the ocean? I would not say we just kicked off or wrapped up, but if you have, paid attention in the news, the Red Sea crisis with the Houthis and Hamas, a lot of combat seen throughout those periods in my particular neck of the woods, I would say, in the Middle East. And so we look at, how well are our ships performing? How well are parts being repaired? How well?
Hey, my guest today is Dr. Padric Hall, Chief Data Officer at the U.S. Naval Forces Central Command and Assistant Professor at Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University and Stonehill College. Welcome to the show, sir, and good to see you.
Hey, Danny, welcome. Appreciate the invitation. It's Padric, long A.
Got it. Sir, let's start with your story. How did you become who you are? Maybe you want to start with your, childhood and first job or whatever route you want to take it.
Yeah, man. So that's a interesting question, very loaded question. But I like telling my story when I get the opportunity to. So I typically start off with, I am, born and raised 702 Las Vegas, Nevada. Got it tatted on me, so I take it wherever I go. Very proud to be from the West. Be very proud to be from this little country city that always keeps the lights on. I also will start off typically with saying, I'm a teen parent. Had my first son when I was 16. So all the things that you maybe you'll hear me discuss, you'll hear me talk about, are all really accomplishments and really a testament of fortitude and perseverance, and really, me breaking barriers. So, I started off, I got my trade in architecture, went on to Arizona State University, my alma mater, where majored in urban planning, and then got my master's in GIS, which was Geographic Information Systems. It took a break, and, true story. Anybody, there are few people who know this story, but the people who know this story, they will laugh. So if you've ever experienced spring commencement, spring graduations, it's usually the best time to have parties or graduation parties. And anybody who's graduated in the spring and they've seen fall parties, it's no comparison. It's cold, it's like December. People ready for Christmas. It's not May. So it's just not fun. And so anyways, this one time I was going to one of my mentees' spring graduation. I said, man, I miss this party feeling. And so I say, well, dang, can I go back to school? Like, I do not believe in getting multiple master's degrees. That's just my personal preference. And so I said, well, dang, what do I got to do? I guess I got to get a PhD. So I started kind of searching around, looking at different universities, and I found two that ended up meeting my criteria and meeting my prerequisites. And then ultimately found a home in capital technology. But it was only because I wanted to have that spring graduation party that I went back for my PhD. Again, true story. Those that know, they will tell you that is very true. So, started with that. So I got my PhD in data science, had a blast, learned a lot, and have been using it ever since. I got into government, kind of got into this arena. I would say maybe 2014, 2013, and kind of just been in it ever since, whether it's been in uniform, or been as a contractor, or been as a federal civilian currently, and just always been in it and been supporting Department of Defense missions, or supporting, how we national security.
Mm-hmm.
You asked about first job. My first job going back to high school was Little Caesars, I think. I think it's about my first job. I learned a lot there. And again, those who know me, they know my next job after that was Build-A-Bear. And I think that's where I really crafted who I am. I crafted the art of confidence. I crafted being able to interact and connect with people in likes of all ages. And I think that is a big and one of the draws, the charisma of myself and my personality, is that I I can relate to the admiral and the general who's, 60, 70 years old or 50, 60 years old. I can also relate to the E1 who's 18 and 19. I just have this ability to connect with personnel, regardless if we have anything in common or not. That's a little bit about me. I'm pretty sure we'll get into more as the questions go, but I think that's a pretty good foundation and basis of who Padric is.
Yeah, yeah, great. Thank you for sharing this. So, are you on active duty now, or how does it work? Being a chief data officer at the Fifth Fleet, what's your relationship with the Navy now?
Yeah, so I am, there's many different sectors, or I should say titles within government. So you have federal civilians, you have contractors, you have active duty military personnel, and then the people that we often forget are our reservists and our National Guards, our National Guardsmen. So I am a reserve U.S. Navy officer, while I'm also a federal civilian as well with Department of Navy. I see the Navy in two different lenses. I both serve the Navy in different capacities, and both of them intertwine at many times to meet national security needs.
And chief data officer is a role that you normally can find in like tech companies or like Fortune 500 companies. So that sounds really cool. And just curious to learn what you do at your job as a chief data officer, but in you know the military, basically.
Yeah, so you're absolutely right, right? I think that is where government is nowadays, right? Government is, I think people forget that, or people don't tend to realize that, we as combat warriors, we have to fight just as much as you have to drive your car, right? Why should a Tesla be the only one that has autonomy and can kind of drive itself? Why not our ships and our surface platforms? Why can't they do the same thing? And we're just a little bit different because in the private sector, you can just basically go out and pay for things. Well, in the government, we really don't have that. If we did, we would have a crazy amounts of things that we either did not use or et cetera. So we have to go through different processes, go through budgeting, go through FAR requests and contracts, et cetera, that make it put a little bit of bureaucracy on our purchase process. And sometimes it can slow us down in technical advancement. That's really the difference between the private sector. So a chief data officer for me, I am looking at and trying to find insights and correlations to either how we fight and the outcome, which is ultimately success, or how we are defending, which is ultimately how we bring, in my case, sailors home. The ultimate goal, the ultimate mission, and the only mission at the end of the day is prevention of loss of life. I want to make sure that my sailors come home to their families. I want to come home to my family. And so any and everything that we do, it is all geared towards the initial lens of how do we ensure our sailors are safe? How do we ensure our platforms are safe? How do we ensure everyone comes home? That is the mission. And then, of course, we have our second, third, fourth battle order effects about, action items that we must accomplish. But at the end of the day, it's about sailors first. How do we bring those men and women home to see their families? So from a chief data officer perspective, I'm looking at insights. I'm looking at correlation. It is the same exact thing in your tech private sector. I'm just doing it in uniform, or I am doing it in a federal government lens. I'm looking at our platforms. So I'm looking at our service platforms. How are they performing through various salinity levels of the ocean? We just I would not say we just kicked off or wrapped up, but if you have, paid attention in the news, the Red Sea crisis with the Houthis and Hamas, a lot of combat seen throughout those periods in my particular neck of the woods, I would say, in the Middle East. And so we look at, how well are our ships performing? How well are parts being repaired? How well are parts being delivered? From a logistics standpoint, are they arriving from, let's say, Chicago to Jacksonville in a timely manner? Right? We get mad, and when Amazon is 2 days late, it's no different than in the Navy when a part for a ship is late. We just have greater impacts when those things happen. So those are things that I'm looking at as a CDO and trying to make inferences and correlations to ultimately better enhance the fleet and again bring those sailors home.
So you're literally using like Python and like doing exploratory data analysis, those kinds of things.
So I would not say me, right? Not me as the strategic overseer of the CDO office. I am not, running those Python simulations and those models. However, my team, my staff absolutely are. And then we are also kind of being strategic because this is where we are different from the tech side and the private side is we also have to correlate those findings and those investigations with the commander's priorities. And then the commander also reports to someone who is known as his general or his admiral, and then ultimately the Joint Chiefs of Staff or the Secretary of Defense, now Secretary of War. So all of those things are kind of combined in trying to understand the layout and the landscape. And my job is to help make recommendations to my boss, the commander, on um, what am I seeing from a data perspective, and what is the story that the data is telling me, and ultimately how can he get better in his decision battle space awareness.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like you're almost like building a tech company inside of the fleet with with developers and then data analysts and data scientists. That sounds great.
I wish, man, thank you for that. Number one, I wish if I had a unlimited budget and if I had an unlimited amount of supply of hiring capabilities, I absolutely would bring some of the phenomenal men and women who are in these tech spaces into government because it's really a fascinating problem to try to understand. It's even more fascinating a problem to solve. Like I said, it's just the twist of being a federal government. We put a twist on everything because we have to abide by certain rules and certain instructions that most private institutions and organizations do not.
As probably some of the listeners know, data science is very close to artificial intelligence and machine learning, all of those kinds of things. You probably use some of the machine learning tools to even analyze the data where your team does. So what's your perspective on AI? And I understand that there is a lot of confidential info that you don't want to share, but from what you can share, how does maybe what impact does AI have on your job and on your mission?
Yeah, really good question. So, that is the race, right? That is the push, particularly in Department of Defense perspective or landscape, is the push to use AI. I love it. Me personally, I love it. I love AI. I love ML. I love the things of what it potentially can do. I actually just finished teaching my course tonight, my class tonight, which is an intro to sports management class at Stonehill College. I gave the analogy of everything is a tool, right? AI is just another tool. The way that we use Excel, the way that we use Word, right? Before Word, there was Lotus Notes. And before Lotus Notes, there was probably some text pad. And somebody said, well, hey, instead of using a text pad that's just basically a blank canvas on a computer, why don't we use this thing called Microsoft Word? And if you notice in Microsoft Word, you will type certain letters and then it'll almost autocomplete for you and say, oh, this is the word you're looking for. Yeah, how'd you know? You were in my brain. Well, that's AI. I think a lot of people tend to forget and realize that we have been using and doing AI and ML for years. It's just not the sexy AI and ML that you may think of when you think of like a Tesla automobile. And so I think that type of application and execution can get into the Department of Defense spaces. However, we are stricken again by certain networks. We're stricken by certain security protocols. And I think that there's just not enough data yet. And we do not have a platform that we can test just full gamut, test all these different things to ensure that they are secure when we go to use them and when we go to fight on them. So it puts a bit of challenge in for them. We can't just plug and play something that's off the shelf that, let's say, a Meta or an X could use because we have certain standards that we have to abide by. So I think it with the landscape of where we are going with AI and ML, I think it's great. I'm excited to see where it goes. But I would say we are underachieving right now in our AI capabilities. Again, nothing to anyone's fault. It's just how the government is designed. It's just how the DoD and the military is designed. But I would suspect as we roll into this next fiscal year, and as we roll into 2020, we will see a greater advancement in the AI and ML spaces.
Yeah, and it would probably take a government contract with someone like Meta or Google or whatever company can provide that secure environment to utilize those AI models, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was one of the things that I had a desire a desire to accomplish was to bring someone in from the private space. Number one, introduce you to our world. I think people, Sometimes as humans, we tend to shy away from things that we're unfamiliar with. Right? Who wants to go to something that's unknown? Who likes walking into a room where you don't know anybody? Right? That's one of the reasons why, typically girls will go to a party, but they'll wait until their homegirls get there. Hey girl, call me when you outside because we about to walk in together. Right? It's the same thing. If you don't not know the DoD space, if you don't know the national security landscape, why would I want to go into that? It's so foreign to me. So one of the things that I hope to accomplish soon is to bring someone in from the private spectrum. Number one, introduce them to our world, introduce them into the men and women who sacrifice and they give their lives for the regular citizen on the daily. And then also too, while you're introducing into to our world, hey, we want to bring some of that knowledge, bring some of that stuff that you're doing at a Wells Fargo from a security protocol standpoint in banking institutions. Bring some of that knowledge that you're doing at the NBA, right? NBA, people think it's sports, right? It's a bunch of people running up and down a court. Absolutely. But there's absolutely a business protocol and a business practice behind the scenes. So bring some of that knowledge, bring that expertise, bring those wins that you have and see how we can implement those in a war battle time space awareness. And then at the same time, we learn, right? We learn to see like, okay, so this is how they're doing it in the real world. This is how we have been doing it. Okay, there's some room. There's some room to learn. There's some room to change. We thought we were doing it. How industry is, but we have some ways to go. And so hopefully I'll be able to get some things approved and get them passed, and we'll be able to launch that initiative. I think it'll be a great project and a great experience for an American citizen.
Yeah, that sounds great. And you also told me that you teach at the college and at the university. How do you combine, your full-time job, which probably takes a lot of your, energy with sharing your knowledge with the students?
Yeah, man, Danny, I'll tell you, I get this question asked often, and I think that I have never mastered the correct answer until tonight. And I would say I only mastered it tonight because I actually discussed it yesterday. So the best answer that I could give you, man, as to how I do those things is I'm just trying to execute the instruments and play the instruments that God has given me. And we all have different talents, some more than others, some more skilled in different areas than others. And God has blessed me with this. God has blessed me with this ability to be gifted in multiple areas. And not only be gifted, but to be willing to sacrifice my time, right? Willing to sacrifice my body and even sometimes sleep, so that I can help somebody out. I first start off by saying, it absolutely begins with my wife, Valerie. I cannot wait till she watched this. She's always my judge. Right? She always critiques any speaking engagement I have. So I can't wait for her to hear it. But it starts with her. It starts with her being able to, take care of the house and hold the house while I am away or I'm absent. And her giving that flexibility and allowing me to do that. And then after that, it's just, really my passions. We all tend to enjoy things that we like and we enjoy talking about them. I enjoy giving back. I tell anybody who meets me and runs into me, I am just trying to give people what people gave me. I would not be in this position. I would not be in these positions if it wasn't for all of my mentors. And I can name them just as clear as day, right? Dr. Chukwuemeka Ikegwanu, Dr. Tafari Osiende, Lasana Hotep, Alonzo Jones, right? These are all great men in my life who blessed me at a time when I was around 18, 19. I'm at Arizona State in a program called African American Men of ASU. And they taught me how to be great. They taught me how to lead. They taught me community activism. They also happen to be all my fraternity brothers, and so that's just one piece that brings us together. But it's all because of them. They poured into me and I am reaping the benefits of their investment. And that's all I try to do. Try to give it back. All right. Give it out. When I die, I don't want to keep any knowledge that I have because that does me no good. I want to give it out, pass it out to my sailors, pass it out to my children, pass it out to all my mentees, pass it out to your listeners, pass it out to you, pass it out to anybody because it's not just for me to keep. It's for me to grab. Okay. This is how I put my spin on it. Okay, go. Here you go. Here's a recommendation. Case in point, I just had a sailor. Again, I just had a sailor 2 weeks ago. She just defended. She was my dissertation student. She just defended her dissertation. So now, not only do I have another student who's a doctor, but I also have another Navy sailor who's a doctor. So it's just amazing. It's amazing to see, and I find so much joy.
Yeah, that's great. And I often discuss this idea of mentorship with my guests, and you're a great example of why this is so important to help other people by mentoring them. Let's also talk about leadership. Do you have a philosophy that you follow when it comes to leading people?
Yeah, I knew this question was gonna come up, right? And I think, I think, you know, I am not beholden to sticker price rhymes. And what I mean by that is, people always got these rhymes that they got these sayings that rhyme, or like, lead first, never follow, or just something that's like is catchy. What does it really mean? Like, how is that put into practice? And so I do not have any of that. I'll be fair warning to say I do not have anything that you're probably going to remember or something that you can put on a bumper sticker. Do not have any of that. I lead with love. And that's as simple as it is, I lead with love. Now, love in the same time does not always mean I give you what you want. Right. We all have parents, where we have someone who has been a parent figure to us. And sometimes we've heard the saying, tough love, right? I lead with love, right? I genuinely have a love and care for people and for the people who I work with and who are under me. Right. I'm asking and taking mental notes about, did your son have a game? How was the game last weekend? Or, hey, I got to get to practice. Oh, hey, man, go ahead, leave, take the time that you need, right? Health is wealth. I was just telling one of my colleagues, about an hour ago, health is wealth, man. We got it. We can hold it down for you. Health is wealth, and that's nothing more important. Like I said, but leading with love does not mean a pushover. It does not mean you're gonna get what you want all the time. It means that I genuinely care about you. Because if I can care about you, then you can care about the mission. You can care about what we are here to do. You can care about execution. It's when I think that leaders lose sight of that and they try to put the mission first and then they try to sprinkle in people afterwards, and it gets a little hazy, and that's when I think things tend to fall apart. But I can lead with love and tell you, hey, I love you and I'm sorry that we're gonna have to miss this. You're gonna have to miss that piano recital, but I need you to work 14 hours tomorrow. I also can lead with love and say, hey, you know what? It's a slow day. We got some of the things that we needed to get done. Go ahead, take the rest of the day off. I can do both of those same things and know that it's coming from a place of love. But at the end of the day, I have to lead. I have to lead, and I have to further the fleet along or further the school along. And I have to make the best decision that I believe is at the time. So if anything, that's what it would be, man. Leading with love.
Yeah, and it's still, a catchy phrase that everyone can remember. So you still have it.
Okay, well, I got two kudos there. Two good. I got it. I got it.
Great. Well, and let's wrap up this episode by you giving advice, some kind of advice for younger folks, maybe in their early 20s. Uh, Maybe some of them could be, the age of your students. So what would you want to share with them?
Man, okay. So first off, in wrapping up, this has been a phenomenal platform. I absolutely would come back, if the invitation arises. Thank you, Danny, for all that you do. And I've seen just the incredible amount of guests that you've had in here. So I'm even honored to be here, right? I am not a general yet. I'm not an admiral yet. I hope to aspire to be one of those one day. So I'm on that track, but just to be amongst that panel and your previous guests, honored, and it really means a lot to me. The final piece of advice that I would say, now here is the sticker, right? Here's the clickbait, if you will. Here is the bumper sticker, and I like to credit Deion Sanders. Always bet on yourself. Always bet on yourself. And I believe it so much, I have it tatted on me, right? I have it permanently inked in my skin. Always bet on yourself. There's so many entities, there's so many institutions, there's so many organizations, even in the military. They all are designed for their own initiative. And sometimes we do not sometimes it's a rinse and repeat, right? We got one major over here. Okay, one major retires, we get another major. Or one lieutenant retires, we get another lieutenant. One lieutenant gets promoted, we get another lieutenant to fill his spot, right? Or her spot. It's a rinse and repeat kind of a people thing. And sometimes I think we lose sight of that as the machine. We lose sight that people are people and actually they are individuals and are humans. And sometimes we do what's best for us, we being the organization, the machine, and not what's best for the person itself. So as the person, I would say, bet on yourself. Somebody says that you cannot do it. Okay. If that's what you want to do, you believe in you, because hopefully you have enough confidence that you will not second guess yourself, right? It's easy for me to second guess you, right? It's easy for me to second guess you as Danny because you and I don't have that familiarity. I don't know what you're capable of. I'm not sure, what things press you and make you, fight or flight. I don't have those experiences. I don't have that knowledge. But I know what makes Padric fight or flight. I know what makes me scared, at 02 in the morning. I know what I'm going to run from. I also know what I'm going to run to. So trust that and trust in yourself. Always bet on yourself. And sometimes if you ever gambled, we don't necessarily condone gambling, but we are adults, right? If you gamble at a casino, what happens? You lose and you win. In the words of Pops, and I leave it with this: if you ever seen, Friday, greatest movie of all time, if you ever seen Pops, he always says, "You win some, you lose some, but you live to see another day." Always bet on yourself.
Great advice, and great way to finish the episode. Thank you, sir, for joining and for sharing all of this, all of these stories and advice. It's been a great time, and I think we'll definitely have an episode 2 sometime. Thank you.
That's awesome, man. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.